On this Saturday night, Alberta on high alert this holiday weekend. On the front lines as flames fuel new fears.
With our dry conditions, it could fire up anytime.
The burning crisis and concerns campers could make it worse. High-stakes diplomacy at the G7, the new unexpected alliance, and Trudeau's important meeting tomorrow.
They're called forever chemicals because they last forever.
From food containers to clothing, a new report highlighting the hidden dangers in your home. And sticking up for cancer research, a Nova Scotia man's special request to Sidney Crosby.
Global National with Farah Nasser.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. The wildfire situation in Fox Creek, Alberta, is growing desperate. The firefighters in the community 260 kilometers northwest of Edmonton are reinforcing their last line of defense. The fire has inched within a kilometer of the town, and it's now threatening homes and businesses. As Blake Lough reports in our top story tonight, crews are working around the clock to protect Fox Creek with everything they have.
We work together. We always have a pre-plan.
With fire on his doorstep, Fox Creek Fire Chief Brian Davidson says he's as prepared as he can be.
It's right across the northern edge into the west and into the east right now.
He's standing near the main line of defense, a massive cat guard, one of many built to protect the town.
I'm guessing it's about 100 meters across.
Yep.
It's big.
Yeah.
Part of the fire was against our northern cat guard, and we were able to hold it right there.
The Eagle Complex fire showed extreme behavior going into the weekend. The main concern on Saturday was the wind, but so far it's cooperating.
Yeah, we've been lucky. They've swirled a couple times, as Edmontonians will know, and the smoke has drifted in when the winds have come from the northwest, but by and large that line is continuing to hold.
There are more than 300 people assigned to the fire. 121 firefighters from Alberta, Ontario, New Brunswick, and the U.S. are on the ground. The military has sent 42 soldiers as well. Smoke from Fox Creek and nearly 90 other fires burning across Alberta can be seen from space, dipping into the United States and eastern Canada. And with an unseasonably hot May-long weekend, authorities are asking people across the province to avoid any activities that could lead to human-caused fires.
We're pretty busy with what we've got right now. We don't need to be responding to any more new wildfires if we can help it.
As crews in Fox Creek shore up their defenses, messages of support. The town adding these words of encouragement from residents to a digital billboard in the middle of the evacuated town. Hundreds were sent in.
I want to go home. We all want to go home, but we want to have a home to go to.
In Fox Creek, Blake Lough, Global News.
To Ukraine next in the critical battle for Bakhmut. In a video posted online today by the Russian Wagner paramilitary group, its leader claimed victory of Bakhmut, saying Russian fighters have now complete control of the city. Now, Ukrainian military officials quickly called those claims untrue. They say the 8 months of fighting is still going on, and Ukrainian troops remain in control of some areas. Bakhmut has become a symbolically important battleground in this war, with casualties on both sides believed to be in the thousands. And Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's scene-stealing arrival at the G7 summit in Japan dominated the agenda in the meeting of global powers. Zelenskyy once again asked world leaders for aid and weapons in Ukraine's fight for sovereignty. And it looks like he's getting newfound support from an unexpected ally, as member nations signal new efforts to stand up against both Russia and China. Mackenzie Gray is in Japan and has more on the shifting geopolitical landscape.
A red carpet arrival for a man on a mission. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has come to Hiroshima to get more weapons.
Good to see you.
A call the G7 is ready to heed.
We have turned to discussions about improving the Ukrainian Air Force. F-16's fourth-generation fighter aircraft are part of that mix.
Those jets, a long-standing Zelenskyy ask, won't be a part of the upcoming Ukrainian counteroffensive, with training time required to get the pilots up in the air. But the Ukrainian president won't go back to Kyiv empty-handed. Joe Biden is set to announce a new weapons package. And Zelenskyy may have an important new friend. Indian President Narendra Modi says he'll do everything he can to help Ukraine, a change in tone from a key global player.
Just a few months ago, Narendra Modi affirmed that his friendship with Vladimir Putin was unbreakable. This needs to change if anything is going to change in Ukraine.
G7 members cleared the deck to meet with Zelenskyy, announcing the final communique a day earlier than expected. The 40-page document covers a number of issues, including calling on China to follow conventions around diplomatic activities and to not interfere in countries' democratic processes, a topic that a senior Canadian official said the Prime Minister pushed to include in the memo. The leaders also stated they wanted to de-risk their economies from Beijing and diversify with new partners.
We want to find solutions to the real challenges low- and middle-income countries are facing today.
Those countries receiving help from Canada, with Justin Trudeau announcing nearly $500 million to help developing countries build infrastructure and improve food security. A key message when Trudeau met with the leaders of Vietnam and Indonesia.
Excited to deepen and strengthen the great friendship between Canada and Indonesia, to grow our economic ties.
Trudeau's biggest one-on-one meeting is likely to take place tomorrow, as the Prime Minister is expected to sit down with Volodymyr Zelenskyy for their second ever in-person meeting. Farah?
Mackenzie Gray in Hiroshima for us tonight. Thank you, Mackenzie. And President Joe Biden is heading home right after the G7 summit, canceling the rest of his Asia trip to focus on America's debt ceiling fight. Negotiations are now stalled with only 10 days to go before the U.S. hits what's being called the X date. That is the earliest point, according to the U.S. Treasury Secretary, that the country could default on its financial obligations, which experts say would spark a potential worldwide economic meltdown. Reggie Cicchini has the latest on America's debt distress.
For a country already sitting on more than $31 trillion debt, America is skating dangerously close to disaster as it struggles to find a way to increase how much it can borrow or risk a calamitous default.
It cannot be held hostage by Republicans.
After days of what was touted as progress, talks broke down on Friday, sending the White House into damage control, with U.S. President Joe Biden cutting short his trip to Asia.
It is definitely a subject of interest here at the G7. This is not generating alarm or a kind of vibration in the room.
If the debt limit isn't raised, the government won't be able to pay its military, and checks for social programs would dry up. Republicans, who control the purse strings, say they have a budget that allows an increase in borrowing, but claim the president's team is being unreasonable when it comes to a big demand.
Look, we can't be spending more money next year. We have to spend less than we spent the year before. It's pretty easy.
It's not so simple. Republicans aren't fully aligned behind the speaker, and negotiating could create more friction. That could open a path for Democrats to lure over moderate GOP lawmakers and pass their own budget with a debt limit increase.
We have never defaulted before. The last time we came close, we lost credit rating.
A default could result in widespread recessions and torpedo global markets. And with most of Congress heading into recess, experts say a fast solution could lie within the Constitution.
The 14th Amendment says that the validity of the public debt shall not be questioned.
Biden has been receptive to this option, and while it's never been tested, legal experts say it would help pay the bills while the courts look into it.
Congresses have said you have to spend a certain amount, and the president and Congress cannot invalidate those debts.
With no weekend negotiations planned, the silence is deafening, making the view over the financial cliff more harrowing. Reggie Cicchini, Global News, Washington.
Canada's federal justice minister is on the defensive this week, fighting off attacks from Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, who says the Liberal government's stance on granting repeat offenders bail is too lenient.
A common-sense Conservative government will reverse Trudeau's catch and release. We will bring in laws that require repeat violent offenders who are newly arrested for violence to stay behind bars with jail, not bail, jail, not bail, until their trial is done and their sentence is complete.
Poilievre insists his policies would be charter compliant, but as Mercedes Stevenson hears from David Lametti on the West Block this week, he says the system is more than a rhyming tagline.
Do you believe that some of the policies you've introduced bear some responsibility, and that you as a government bear some responsibility for that rise in violent crime?
No, not at all. I mean, crime policy, criminal justice policy doesn't devolve down to a simple, silly slogan, as Mr. Poilievre seems to want to lead people to believe. First of all, the The statistics are not as clear as he claims they are. There has been a general decrease over the last 20 years in crime. There has been a spate of killing of police officers recently, as you pointed out in your introduction, and that is true. My sympathies go out to the families of police officers, but also to law enforcement officers generally. We know they have a tough job, and so that's what we're trying to do today, is attack the problem of repeat violent offenders. But this is a complex problem. It goes to a number of different factors in society coming out of a very unprecedented pandemic, which brought fault lines of mental health and other challenges to the fore. And so we're dealing with all of that. The changes that were made, that we have made, have, we think, improved the criminal justice system, allowing us to concentrate, quite frankly, on more serious crimes, as opposed to wasting time and resources on people who should not be incarcerated.
Is it fair to say that you've had a change of heart on the issue of bail, and that's why you're now reversing some of what you'd previously brought in?
Well, if what you're saying is that C-75, the first bail bill, made it easier to get bail, that's just not true. We actually made it harder to get bail for intimate partner violence. We reversed the onus in part in those kinds of offenses. So it is a very inaccurate characterization from the Conservative Party in particular to say that C-75 made it easier to get bail.
And you can watch the full interview with the Justice Minister tomorrow on the West Block right here on Global. Moncton, New Brunswick remains graced with royalty, with Princess Anne's visit in full swing. The sister of King Charles attended a parade celebrating the 175th anniversary of the 8th Canadian Hussars, Canada's oldest serving cavalry regiment. In a speech, she praised their history of military excellence and enviable reputation since forming in 1848, and was appointed as the unit's ceremonial colonel-in-chief in 1972. She will take part in more anniversary celebrations for the rest of the weekend. Forever chemicals, forever banned. Coming up, the push to eliminate an increasingly used toxin. We can't see it, but there's a silent threat lurking in our homes, an invisible danger found in things we use every day. Forever chemicals. And as the name implies, the cancer-causing agents are doing lasting damage to our health and the environment. Ottawa is now looking at limiting or banning these chemicals. And as Brittany Rosen reports, experts say it can't come soon enough.
From the clothing you wear to the nonstick cookware you may use to scramble your eggs, polyfluoroalkyl substances, or PFAS for short, can be found just about anywhere. That now includes your body.
They're called forever chemicals because they last forever. And what makes them more of a concern yet is that they stick around in the environment, for example, in our drinking water.
A new Health Canada draft report indicates the chemicals have seeped into Canadians' blood samples. The data underscores the adverse effects the toxic chemicals have on both human health and wildlife.
There's sound evidence to show that exposure to some of the PFAS class can cause types of cancer.
PFAS are in a class of over 4,700 toxic human-made substances. They can be found in an ever-growing list of products, including food packaging, firefighter foam, and repellents. The report says firefighters and Indigenous adults and youth face the most exposure. Canada's Minister of Environment tweeted only diamonds should be forever, not human-made substances that are polluting the environment. Health Canada is looking for public input as it proposes to list the entire class of chemicals as toxic under the Canadian Environmental Protection Act. Now, that label would then allow the government to enact measures like a ban, similar to what Ottawa did with single-use plastics. It would be the first time Canada has considered designating an entire class of chemicals as toxic, as opposed to individual substances.
The real benefit to dealing with a whole class of chemicals is that we're not saying that you can't use one thing and then that one thing is slightly tweaked and replaced with a variation that can be as problematic.
While experts say it's a step forward, some remain critical as to whether there's enough evidence to suggest the designation is necessary. The public will have 60 days to weigh in on the proposed changes. Brittany Rosen, Global News, Toronto.
Ahead, revolutionizing emergency medicine. A Quebec doctor's touch-of-a-button solution that has caught the attention of the Canadian Space Agency. An app to help emergency room doctors save their most critical patients, designed in Montreal, is now helping to save lives in dozens of countries around the world. The revolutionary technology may soon help those in the next frontier as well, space. Gloria Henriquez shows us how it works and why there's so much excitement around it.
When doctors deal with an emergency like this, there's little room for maneuver or for error. Lives are on the line.
It's super tough in the heat of the moment to do absolutely no mistakes.
To help staff deal with that critical first hour of resuscitation, Dr. Lemaire created an app. Health practitioners no longer have to consult books, the internet, and then make complicated calculations many times over on a piece of paper. Easy Resus has all the tools needed to figure out appropriate treatment for patients in the same place.
We're talking about drug dosing, equipment selection, some checklists for procedure, just to offload our brain so we can focus on the patient.
30 volunteers have been working to input all the necessary information, from nurses to pharmacists and emergency doctors like Jean-François Couture.
It's really just a great tool that helps the whole team. And really rapidly you can have a reliable calculation.
There are now nearly 5,000 users in 29 different countries around the world. And now the app has the chance of improving care beyond the confines of planet Earth. Easy Resus is a finalist in the Canadian Space Agency's Deep Space Healthcare Challenge. It's a competition seeking technologies that can help improve access to care in remote Canadian communities and to crews on deep space missions.
And because the challenges are so similar, well, the technological solutions are probably also very similar.
It's like super exciting. So we get funding, and then we get a chance to collaborate with the Canadian Space Agency. So it would give us the money and the leverage to make this dream happen, distribute the app as broadly as possible, and maybe someday, help an astronaut in needs en route to Mars or something.
That's Dr. Lemaire's true final frontier. Gloria Henriquez, Global News, Longueuil.
Next, turning hockey sticks into hope. This craftsman's one-of-a-kind chair and why he needs Sidney Crosby for his next big goal. Brittany Griner has made her first WNBA start since being freed from a Russian prison. Her team, the Phoenix Mercury, opened the season against the Los Angeles Sparks last night in front of an excited crowd that included U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris. Griner missed the 2022 season while detained in Russia for nearly 10 months on drug charges. After the game, Griner told reporters it's nice to be back on the court.
I appreciate everything a little bit more. All the little small moments that, I used to just oh, I'm so tired. Oh, I don't want to go to practice today, or oh, this, that. I think that has changed, honestly. Just appreciating everything because, tomorrow's not guaranteed. You don't know what it's going to look like.
Griner scored 18 points, but Phoenix lost 94-71. Prior to the home opener, the last time she played in a WNBA game was in the 2021 finals more than 570 days ago. Now, Canada's hockey teams may be out of the playoffs, but hockey is still a national pastime. A Nova Scotia man has found a way to bring people together over their love of the game, crafting furniture from retired sticks. And now he's asking for a little star power for a particularly special piece. Shelley Steeves has the story.
Behind this shed door lies a passion for hockey and health
That's nothing to shake a stick at.
I got a strong addiction.
Martin Benoit's shed in Lower Sackville is decorated to the rafters with discarded hockey sticks.
In this room, there's probably between 12 to 1,300 easily.
His passion for fabricating with old wooden sticks started about 20 years ago when he made his first hockey stick chair for his son to raise money for a local charity.
I never sell anything. Everything I make, I donate all the time. Big park bench there.
And this year the cause hits closer to home, inspired by his wife, who, over the past few years, has beat the odds, overcoming 3 kinds of cancer.
She had treatments and she's doing very well, and she's an angel. So now we're in the process of giving back.
There's just so many people who have either lived it or love someone who's lived it, and yeah, the fact that he's given back is yep.
That love and passion has gone into his latest auction item, carefully crafted with the same kind of old-fashioned wooden sticks used by one of the best players in the world.
I was very particular on making sure that you could see his name at many different places. So if you look on the side, it says Sidney Crosby.
Their goal is to track down Crosby next time he's home in Nova Scotia and have him sign the chair to boost up the bid, all of which will be donated to a cancer fundraiser.
If we can get Sidney to sit in it, we're going to donate the money to Right for Cancer.
The couple says Crosby has an open invitation to visit the stick shed.
Come on over.
If having him in the chair can help someone like Darlene beat the odds, it's worth a shot. Shelley Steeves, Global News, Lower Sackville, Nova Scotia.
And that is Global National for this Saturday night. I'm Farah Nasser. On behalf of our whole crew, I want to thank you so much for spending part of your evening with us. Hope you're having a peaceful, long weekend. Tonight's Your Canada is White Rock, British Columbia. Until tomorrow, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Good night.